Move in, sweetheart. You're first.
Hello there. Following on from our last video in the Boat Electrical Made Easy series, we said to you that we wanted to do something different this time. I'm sure you must get fed up with just our opinions.
Okay, so doing something different. We racked our brains for at least 2 or 3 minutes. Well, you guys watch YouTube because you want to see what other people are doing. So us banging on about what we've got and how we do it just doesn't seem right. Knowledge is about shared experience. And
So a pooch trying to crawl on my lap.
and so, oh come on, Oscar. So just us banging on about, you know, what we think's best doesn't really make sense. Well, not to us anyway. So we reached out to the YouTube community, to our fellow YouTubers, and asked them to do a few minutes on what they've got, what their opinions are, etc, etc. So without further ado, we're going to show you some of those clips now. But the response was so good,
It's overwhelming.
overwhelming, that we've actually had to split this video into 2 pieces. So we'll put one piece on in the next couple of days, and then a couple of days after that we'll put the second half on. And there's some really good people on here whose opinions we really value. So
Let's get on with it.
oh, and there may just be a bit of humour as well. See you later.
What do you need for solar to work?
Sun?
We've got loads of sun here, haven't we? Sun,
Yeah.
look at it, it's glorious.
Lovely today.
So yeah, you need sun. Number one thing is you need sun. They do work slightly overcast, but you need sun.
So we currently have 160 watt solar panel at the minute.
Monocrystalline,
Monocrystalline.
whatever that means.
We're no expert on solar panels.
No. But we did get a Victron 150 to 35 charge controller, which allows us to have quite a few panels. I've got to watch Anna's videos to know exactly what we need. But that is big enough to cope with whatever demand we'll really take from it, because we're only weekend sailors.
It did us well over the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, for what we needed it for, it was okay.
And we had it on the panel on the bimini, didn't we? And what did that do?
It ripped holes in the top of the bimini, which
We've got to patch up.
we need to patch up now.
So, after careful consideration, we've decided to build his own arch because we can't afford to have somebody make one. So, Sailing Salty Lass have already made one using the same suppliers that we're going to use, and they give us a bit of a tick list of what we need. So, we're building a solar arch
Yeah.
in 10 days time. 10 days time. 10 days time.
So we just completed the arch, just waiting to put the solar panels on. We've mounted the feet on the transom. This is to help spread the load. Same again on the deck. And then this tube sticking up is for the radar, and that will cast a shadow when the sun's low, but that's something we're going to have to compromise on.
Yeah, as I was saying, that's pretty much it, isn't it? That's set up, and we'll learn from the professionals or how to have a better kit. Stop doing. What are you doing? Oh shit.
Put my cardi back on now, I'm freezing.
Freezing. Absolutely freezing here.
Oh, God.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Hi Anton, Sid, Carl here from Carl and Jenny Sailing Adventures aboard SV Dream. So guys, you've asked us to put together a 2 to 3 minute video talking about our solar panels aboard our boat. Yes, solar panels can take up an hour's chat on anybody's channel, so it's just going to be a quick voiceover and a couple of photographs. Basically what we've got are 3 60-watt solar panels on the rear arch, and then we've got 2 75-watt panels fitted on the side of the boat, which if we're sailing or we're at anchor we can lift up and we get the benefit of an extra bit of power. So the 2 solar panels on the side was actually a bank of 3, which was originally on the rear arch when we bought the boat, but we found in the first season that we wasn't really getting enough power from them, so we upgraded over last winter or the winter before to the 3 160 watts. We used those all last summer and they was fine, but on some cloudy days we weren't quite getting up to full capacity of the batteries, and there was a couple of days where we did have to run the engine. So what we've actually done now is put the 2 of the 75-watt ones on the sides, which gives us another 150 watts. 150 watts. So in total, we now have a potential output from the solar panels of 630 watts. The 3 on the rear arch, the 160 panels, they go into a Victron MPPT 150, which then goes straight to the battery. And I've wired the 2 75-watt ones up to our old Renogy MPPT, which again then goes straight to the battery. The 2 additional panels on the side are a new addition, so we've not really tried them out at sea yet, but I've no doubt they are going to work. Battery wise, we've got 5 Bosch 140 amp batteries, which gives us a total of 700 amp hours. We have got a 12 volt freezer on board, which is in that panel over there you can see behind me, and that, when it kicks in, runs at around between 6 and 7 amps. At the moment it's I'm just looking at the meter, it's only drawing about 1 amp at the moment because it's on like a standby thing, but the weather's not brilliantly hot. When the weather gets really hot, then it's kicking in a lot more and we can be drawing 7 amps all day. We do leave it running 24/7 throughout the summer. Nice cold beer, but it does seem to work. The reason we've got the panels on the solar arch is because they're high up, they're out of the way, and they do get quite a good collection of sunlight. The only downside to it is on one side we've got our radar and on the other side we've got our wind generator, so we do get a little bit of shadow depending which way around the boat's facing towards the sun. And for that reason we wired our panels up into parallel, so that if one of the panels gets some shadow on it, then we still get power from the other 2 panels uninterrupted, so it only sort of slows down that one panel for how much power it's putting in. And likewise with the 2 on the side, they're both in parallel, so that if one of them's in total shade because of how the boat's positioned, then at least the other one's still working. Just to add, we have got another battery on board, which is our starter battery, and that is independent to the house bank batteries. Again, it's 12 volts, but that gets charged from the alternator on the boat. So I hope that's been informative for you. It's had to be really quick because I know there's a few people putting their clips on. So we'll see you out on the water. Have fun, guys. Bye.
Hi Ant, hi Sid, and of course to the Pooch crew. This is Jamie of Follow the Boat. Now you've asked me to talk about our installation of our solar panels. Now I figured that you guys have probably got most of this covered. I know you've asked a few other people to talk about solar panel installation and maintenance. So I have full confidence that you guys have already covered off series versus parallel and the installation of MPPTs. So I just thought I'd very quickly talk about our own experiences of solar panels. And the first thing is that when we bought Esper, 15 years ago, the first thing we installed on the boat was, of course, a really good sound system. Then of course we realised we need power for it, so the solar panels were the second thing that we installed. And back then we went for 6 times 40 watt Kyceras. They were good panels back in those days, but of course we very quickly realised as we became full-time liverboards that the panels did not provide enough power. So we ended up in a situation after our refit where we were able to install some more solar panels, and that's exactly what we've done. Now the important thing here is to mention the difference between our old panels and our new ones. So the Kyceras are poly, and whereas the new ones are mono. Now general consensus is that you should install poly because they perform better with shadows. But these new generations of Panasonic hits that we have installed on Esper, although they are monos, they have a 21% efficiency rating. Most panels tend to be around about 18%. So it's to do with the way in which they've designed the glass. It is able to reflect light at different angles, so they become more efficient later on in the afternoon, I think. And they've made a huge change. But perhaps the main reason why they've made a huge change is because we've pretty much tripled our capacity. So we now have 4 remaining Kyceras on top of our Dodger. So that's what, 4, 8, 12, so that's about 160 watts. And then at the back of the boat, hanging off the side at the back of the boat where we used to have the Kyceras, are new 240 watt Panasonic hits, one either side, and they are designed to be flipped up into the horizontal. They're up in this position about 99% of the time. We very rarely put them down unless we come into marinas, just in case they get hit, normally by my bad parking. But most of the time they're up, even in bad weather and when we're sailing, we keep those panels up in the horizontal position. And then at the back of the boat, we have a single panel on its own. It's also a Panasonic hit, and that's a 325 watt panel. And that's mounted right at the top above our davits. Now, those Panasonic hits can be altered according to the angle of the sun, but one of my recommendations is to forget that. Don't even bother trying to chase the sun. You do not want to spend your day running around a hot deck, constantly changing the position of your solar panels. This is why I recommend installing as many panels as you can and splitting them up around the boat so that you make the most of the sun throughout the day by dividing up your panels into different sets. So we run 3 MPPT charge controllers. They are made by Tracer, I think. They're made in China, but they're actually the US's best-selling MPPT charge controller. I seem to remember on Amazon they were retailing at something like $150. I picked them up for $99. So it would be nice to have some Victrons with the ability to do everything by Bluetooth, but these serve a good purpose. So those MPPTs are split again into 3 separate banks, and this not only makes the most of the sun at different days, but of course it does also give you contingency should one of those panels go down. So we are now close to almost 1 kilowatt, at least on paper. It doesn't work like that in reality. 1 kilowatt on paper. It's still not enough. With all the editing we're doing these days with our powerful laptops and desktop computers, we could do with a few hundred watts more. So my advice would be install the most efficient panels you can find. Install as many as you can. Avoid flexible panels and use MPPTs to make the most of that charge control system. Peace and fair winds.
Hi, it's Baz from Sailing ABC here. Thanks for reaching out to us, Ant, and we're more than happy to contribute to your solar systems segments. See what I did there? This is not going to be anything super technical or in-depth. We're just going to give you an outline of what we've got on board, how it's worked for us so far, what changes we would have made had we known what we know now when we had it installed in the first place. So let's start with the solar panels. Lovely sunny day today, so they're probably working their bums off. When we bought ABC, she didn't have dinghy davits and a solar arch, so we had this stainless steel one over-engineered while we were getting the boat kitted out in Spain. This is 316 stainless and the tubing is oversized for requirements, but we thought we'd better go oversize rather than undersize. And this arch, as well as being the home of our dinghy davits, is also the home of our 4 150 watt solar panels, which gives us a total of 600 watts of solar. little bit dirty at the moment. They've got a bit of bird poo on them and some dust. They have been sitting out here all winter, and of course when we do our final clean before we splash, we will be giving these a good scrub. We have 3 100 amp hour batteries on board for our domestic usage. Ideally I'd prefer to have 5 or 6 on board, and that would give us more usable amp hours, but unfortunately the space that we've got our batteries in is very limited. We might consider some other storage position for them at some point in the future, but we've got so many other jobs on our hands right now that that's way down on the list. During the winter time, our 600 watts of solar gives our batteries a reasonable charge in a reasonable time frame. Of course, the sun is much lower towards the horizon, so it's not the perfect angle. However, during the summer, it really does kick backside. We have our batteries back up to full by maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then the rest of it is just a bonus throughout the day. The cables run from the solar panels to this MPPT 150 controller, and that basically feeds the right amount of juice into our batteries as needed. Right now the little green light is on, and that means the batteries are quite happily charged and it's just on float, so it's just trickling in a little bit of current. Over here in the starboard bunk we have a Victron Energy Phoenix 12 800, which is a pure sine wave inverter. So this inverter takes the 12 volts and steps it up to 220 volts. Now it's only 800 watts, and looking back I think we probably should have done a bit more research. Ideally we'd probably choose a 2000 or a 3000 watt inverter, because you can just run so many more things that require a higher wattage. Monitoring the amount of solar power that's coming in and the state of the batteries is done via this Victron Energy battery monitor, and it says at the moment our batteries are 100% full and we've got infinite hours. Well, we would have at the moment because we're not actually using anything on board. Currently the voltage of the batteries is 13.85 volts, fluctuating around there, and we're currently putting in somewhere between 3 and 4 amps of power. That's because the batteries are already at 100%. So it's, again, you saw on the MPPT controller that it was just on float at the moment. So it's just that trickle feed coming into the batteries. That's 6 watts of power, 4 watts of power, 5 watts. So between 4 and 6 watts of power happening at the moment. And we've used 0 amp hours of our battery bank. Hopefully you got some useful insights from this little show and tell, and remember, not one size fits all. It all depends on your boat, your power consumption, and the amount of battery capacity you've got and where you can store it. So I better get myself back down below and cleaning, otherwise the Admiral will be on my case. Catch you later, guys.
I hope you've enjoyed this video today. There is a link in the description below to all the channels featured. Go check them out.
Go check them out.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. It's been great fun making a video that's collaborative between us and the other YouTube channels. There's lots more to come and lots more humour as well. Most of all, we hope that collaborating with the other channels has given you a bigger insight into the things that you need to think about when you're doing your solar. Yeah, there's lots of technical stuff, but there's lots of practical things as well. So don't forget, go over to their channels, have a look at what they've done, like them, subscribe them, and you can always do the same for us as well. Okay, until next time, guys.
Sail safe.
Sail
Bye.
safe. Bye.